Hello, welcome to KOLLEL Baruch A'Havat Israel. We're in the middle of MISHNAYOT Brachos. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're very happy here at the KOLLEL to be giving a share. And today we're going to be finishing the first chapter in Seder Brachos. So we're accomplishing, we're moving along, and we're learning Torah in the process. Okay, so let's begin today's Mishnah. We're going to do two Mishnayos. Today is going to be Dalit and Hey. So Mishnah Dalit. B'shachar mevarich shtayim l'fnei v'achas la'achreya. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Before I want to, as usual, I want to Le'ilu Nishmas, my great grandfather David Getzel Halevi. I'm David Getzel also. But for his neshama to have an aliyah for this share, and may he be elevated in Shemaim. So we're going to speak about everything until now. We were speaking about Shema, about the process, when to say it, at what times, and the different proofs as to when Yehuva Shavtecha Kumecha, if you remember from the last shiurim. But now we're going to speak about the brachas that precede and that come after the blessing of Shema. If anybody, we go to a minyan, you're going to be saying these different ones to be specific. Yotzer or and Ahavat Olam or Ahavat Rabbah, different nusachs as to what you're going to say. But we're going to speak about these two brachas. Well, the Mishnah first says that in the morning, when you say the morning Shema, because remember we said that Shema you have to say in the morning at night. So when you say the morning Shema, we say two brachas before the Shema, and we say one bracha after the Shema. These are very important, and we're going to learn exactly how important they are and how we should make sure to say these. The first two that are before it, the first two in the morning are Yotzer or and Ahavat Olam or Ahavat Rabbah. Those are the first two that we say before the Shema in the morning. And after the Shema in the morning, we say another one, which is Emes v'Yatziv, which is they're both very important, and they both sorry, I'm just gonna center myself and so there's two before and there's one after. But Erev shtayim lafneva u'shtayim la'achreya. And when it comes to the night Shema, when we go to Daven Mariv, there are two brachas before Shema, and there are two brachas after. So again, in the morning, there's two before the Shema and one after the Shema, and there's two, and at night there's two brachas before the Shema and there's two at after. So the difference is there's three altogether in the morning and four altogether in at night, which equals 7. And those 7, it says over here that let's see where it is. It was very interesting. I'll find it later. But the ones that Marav Aravim and the Ahavat Olam, those are the two at night. When we say, so again, the ones in the morning, Yotzer or and Ahavat Olam, those are the ones that are first said before the Shema in the morning, and Emes v'Yatziv is said after in the morning. The first two at night is Marav Aravim and Ahavat Olam, and the two that are after it are Emes ve'Emunah and Hashkivenu. So this is where we learn. We're always davening, and we're always looking. I'm always wondering where does it come? How do I know I should daven this? And we know that a lot of the tefillah was put together by the Anshe Knesset Gedola. But we see here in the Mishnah that it clearly states that we should be saying these brachas before and after. It's not just, we can't just say Shema. We have to say these brachas as well. Let's continue. achas aruka va'achas ketzara. Makom she'amru laharich enu rashay lekatzer. Lekatzer enu rashay laharich. So this is basically saying, they're breaking down what a bracha, how a bracha, these two brachas, the before and after, one's considered a long arichas. It's a arucha. It's a long bracha, aruka here, and one's a ketzara. One's a small bracha. What's the difference? The difference is that when we speak about a long bracha, there is, you say Baruch Atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem. You say that in the beginning, and you say that at the end. It begins and ends with Baruch Atah Hashem, which means that that's considered a long bracha. Which one is that? I believe the first, we starts off. Let me get a siddur so we can make sure that we. Hold on a second. Let me just get a siddur. Right behind me. Okay, let's look at this. Let's take a look. Just for complete accuracy over here. Stay with me, sorry. Shachas morning. There we go. Almost there. Alright. So in the morning, we start with Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Yotzer Or Mevorach Chosek. So that bracha starts with a Baruch Atah Hashem, and it ends over here with Baruch Atah Hashem Yotzer Ha'aretz. Well, this is in the Surah. So that's considered a long bracha, says the Mishnah. The Mishnah speaks about a long and short, and a short one, Ahavat Rabbah, for example, ends with Baruch Atah Hashem Aboicher Ba'amo Yisrael Ba'ava. So that is considered a short bracha because there's only a Baruch Atah Hashem at the end of it. That's what the Mishnah is speaking about here. It says, so basically saying that when it comes to a long bracha where there's a Baruch Atah Hashem in the beginning, Yotzer Baruch Hashem in the end, you cannot take away. You can't say, you know what, I'm just not going to say the last Baruch Atah Hashem. I'm going to just say the first Baruch Atah Hashem because maybe you think it's too many Baruch Atah Hashems, whatever your thought is. But it says no, you can't make a difference. You can't take away. And when it comes to a short one, and you say to yourself, oh, Ahavat Rabbah, and only at the end I say Baruch Atah Hashem. So you say, you know what, maybe I want to say Baruch Atah Hashem Ahavat Rabbah in the beginning. I want to say you can't say. So what the Mishnah says specifically, you can't lengthen the ones that are short, and you can't shorten the ones that are lengthy. Lichtam ina rasha shaloi lichtam v'shaloi lichtam ina rasha lichtam, and we're also speaking about a bracha that ends. And then you can't. One may not omit the ending, or this is the one ending, or one may not add the ending. So that's everything we're talking about over here, and that's Mishnah Dalet over here. So I'm not being so as clear, but just wanted to get the siddur to make sure that we were talking correctly over here. So that's the Mishnah Dalet over here. Let's get into Mishnah Hey. And the Hey is the last one. We have five Mishnahs in the first chapter of Mishnahs, and this will be our final Mishnah, which will be completing the first chapter of Brachos. Maskirin Yetzias Mitzrayim V'Leilos. So before this, it says over here that the two brachas of Shema, V'Hafta and V'Hayim Shema, those two are deraisa from the Torah. We consider those that you must say those. The last one that speaks about Yetzias Mitzrayim and Tzitzis, all these different ones. This was added. This was added on to be so that we can fulfill the mitzvah of mentioning Mitzrayim, because there's a mitzvah to mention Hashem redeeming us from Israel. Hashem redeeming us from Mitzrayim, every single day we have a mitzvah for that, and we have to mention that. So Chazal and Chachamim, they added this in, that we should make sure to always say it. Yes, we also have at the end of davening the six remembrances. We mention different things, and in there we mention Shabbos, we mention different things. But we also mention about coming out of Mitzrayim, but Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. But also we have the third passage, passage in Shema is mentioning Yetzias Mitzrayim, and here we're going to speak about a little discussion they had about adding this third one in. Maskirim Yetzias Mitzrayim b'leilos. So you should mention. So we mentioned the leaving Yetzias Mitzrayim at night. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and a little backstory to him. He was because it's going to say. Well, I'll just read over here. Hare ani kaven shivim shana. So he says that I look like I'm 70 years old. And the backstory is that at a young age he was offered the position of nasi, to lead a whole council, chachamim, and at this young age he became, at 18 years old actually, he became a leader, and it wasn't fitting. It didn't seem so right for somebody so young. But so a miracle happened that he actually looked his hair became white and he looked much older, and he says over here that behold, I look like I'm 70 years old. And he couldn't. The thing is, even though he looked 70 years old, he was trying to push this idea. He held in his opinion that you should say the Shema, you should say the third passage that we spoke about, mentioning Hashem taking us out. You should mention it at night as well. The other, as we'll see as we go on, that the Chachamim didn't agree with this, and in fact they say no, it's really something in the daytime. Everybody agrees you need to mention Hashem taking us out of Egypt every single day. If you want to know why, and it's very simple, because we always have to remember that. We feel like we're in this a bad situation, but Hashem took us out of Egypt in such a terrible place. He could take us out of our personal gullahs, our personal problems. So, but Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he wanted to win over his colleagues. He wanted to prove to them that at nighttime you should also mention Hashem taking us out of Egypt. But he wasn't able to do it. He wasn't able to convince them. Until Ben Zayma came along, and he said like this: Shenemar Laman Tizkor Es Yom Tzeichav Me'eretz Mitzrayim Kol Yemei Chayecha. So Ben Zayma comes with a pasuk, and he wants to help. He wants to help Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. He wants to help him prove that at nighttime you should also be saying that Hashem took us out of Egypt. The third passage, again, the first two passages of the Shema are deraisa, but the third one is really brought in for different reasons, mentioning the tzitzis, mentioning from Yetzias Mitzrayim, because we have a mitzvah of always meant to mention that Hashem took us out of Egypt. So he brings an answer to help Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Yemei chayecha hayamim, kol yemei chayecha b'leila. So the pasuk says that. And that Hashem that we remember the day when we came out of Egypt, all the days of our lives. Kol Yemei Chayecha. Yemei Chayecha, the part of the pasuk that says Yemei Chayecha, the days of your life, that's teaching us that we should say it in the daytime. Kol Yemei Chayecha v'haleilos. That's teaching us we should say it at night. So this brings a proof to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and Ben Zayma is the one who helps him out with that. And there he has. So at first he wasn't able to convince, even though he was a nasi, he was a leader. He wasn't able to convince the chachamim of his teaching that you should also say it at night. But now he has a proof. He has help from Ben Zayma. The chachamim don't disagree. They disagree with how they learnt from this pasuk. How do they learn it? They learned the term that when it says the days of your life, again the whole pasuk is that you remember the day when you came out of Egypt, all the days of your life. So they learned that all the days of your life refers to this world. And the days of all the day, kol yemei chayecha, the kol is really what we're focusing on, teaches us that when Mashiach comes, we'll be still remembering Hashem taking us out of Egypt. Yes, we'll be much more involved with the current redemption. We'll be learning about the final Geula a lot, but we'll also be remembering that Hashem took us out of Egypt. That's how they learned that pasuk, which they were teaching us over here. So, just a recap of this amazing Masechta and beautiful, and finishing the first chapter over here. We're just going to go a little bit over, and we're going to recap quickly that we spoke about that Shema needs to be said at night, and the time was when the Kohanim come out, when they come to eat the Truma, and then we spoke about how until what time, and we had the different opinions until how long can you say it, and we said that really you have the whole night to say it. However, the Chachamim really wanted to stop you from using the whole entire night to say Shema, because you might forget, and there might be a problem. And then we spoke about when to say it in the morning, and we spoke about the difference between blue and white. And once we realized it from the techilas on the tzitzis, once our eyes can tell the difference between the color blue from techilas and the color white, then we can say the Shema. Then we had disagreed, and we said no, the color green and blue. And then we spoke about different opinions on that. We spoke about Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel on Violetta Bat Dorah. That Beis Shammai says you should be physically laying on your side when you say the Shema, and Beis Hillel says no, Violetta Bat Dorah. When you're walking, whatever, it's normal for you, which means that you can sit, you can stand, you choose one. And then we spoke, and that was really and then we brought up a story, a really nice, really cool story that said that somebody of Tarfon got hurt from listening to Beis Shammai, and we see from there that we should go like Beis Hillel, so we shouldn't be laying down when we say the Shema. We spoke about today. We spoke about the brachas that you say before, and that we have to make sure that when we say the bracha. And we have to know now that there's long brachas and short brachas, and long brachas have a Baruch Atah Hashem in the beginning and a Baruch Atah Hashem at the end, and those cannot be omitted, and you can add to the short brachas where you say I want to add, and also another brachas about shahakol or adama. You can't take away the Baruch Atah part of it, or add, or maybe you want to add Baruch Atah to the end. You have to keep it the way that Chazal made it. Then we spoke about Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and that we have to mention this mitzvah of of coming out of Egypt every single day. And according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who was a man who looked like he was 7 years old, even though he was 18, it was a miracle that happened. He says that we should also be saying it at night. And the Chachamim disagreed, and that's really the sum of what we learned about so far. And I hope that everyone who's watching can go to Nesat and to share this with everyone, so we could share Mishnayos and we can learn together and really grow. And we finished a full parak of Mishnayos. It's a very big accomplishment, and we only hope to do more.